Hi and welcome to BioTalk by IB Girls, and this time we're going to talk about membrane structure, which is the second last subtopic in cell biology. So the last thing is going to be membrane transport, and that's the one Melissa is doing. Okay, so many people think of a membrane as rather rigid and stiff structure, but it's actually, if you think about big soap bubbles, right? And if you look closely at them, you'll see that the surface of the bubble moves around, and the bigger ones they change shape when the wind gets hold of them. And the membranes are pretty similar. They're fluid, flexible, and also very dynamic. The whole structure, the phospholipid bilayer, is very dynamic. So if we jump straight ahead to phospholipid bilayers, the biological membranes, they consist of these phospholipid bilayers. Phospholipid is so-called a lipid with a phosphate group attached, and a bilayer means a layer that consists of two layers. So as we see here, a phospholipid bilayer is a structure which is made out of two layers of lipids. So see, this is one layer of lipid, and that's another layer of lipid. In this phospholipid bilayer, we have the phosphate heads. They are hydrophilic. That means that they like water. Then we have the hydrocarbon tails. They're hydrophobic. So they repel water. They don't like water. And by talking about, sorry guys for the weird cut off, but my sister just went into my room, so I had to stop the recording. But yeah, by talking about the amphipathic properties, it's actually easy to explain that the formation of the lipid bilayer is that the phosphate heads, they face the watery environment, the cell cytoplasm and the extracellular fluid, and the lipids or the hydrocarbon tails, these long thingies, they are sandwiched in between them as they repel water. Yeah. Talking about next is cholesterol, and cholesterol has been given a very bad name because of its connection with coronary heart disease. But actually, your body makes its own cholesterol, as well as obtaining it through whatever you eat, fatty lipids and triglycerides. And actually, membranes they require this cholesterol in order to function properly. And some hormones are also synthesized from cholesterol, as we also know from reproduction. So talking about cholesterol itself, it's an integral part of the animal membranes. It plays a very important role in controlling the membrane fluidity and the permeability to some solutes as well. So in coronary heart disease, it's cholesterol is very responsible for the plaque formation that can block the arteries and also restrict the blood flow, as we can see here. You can see that the fat is almost building up and blocking the artery itself. Um, so as this happens, if the blood flow through an artery is blocked, the tissue surrounding the blockage will then die, and if that happens, that will most likely cause you to have a heart attack. Yeah. So this membrane doesn't only have one function, sorry, to serve, but it also has various functions um, as we take into fact that the phospholipid bilayer is in fact not rigid, but it's fluid and flexible and very dynamic. And this membrane protein has some functions. Cell membranes have a wide range of functions. The primary function is to create a barrier through which ions and hydrophilic molecules cannot easily pass through. And it's all carried out by the phospholipid bilayer. So we have hormone binding sites, and we'll talk about that in molecular biology. We have enzymes, we have cell-to-cell communication, we have channels for passive transport, and we have pumps for active transport. And this will be discussed more thoroughly in the next video that Melissa is going to do. Quickly jumping next to, I think my language is pretty accurate today, pretty fluid, I would say. No, I'm just joking. Okay, jumping off to the very last slide I have, membrane structure, is how we actually see the whole bilayer itself. So as we saw before here, we can see that this is only a small part, but a very important part of the membrane structure. You see here we have the phospholipid, and we have a protein here, that transmembrane protein or the integral protein. And then we have the cholesterol in here between. Then we have the cytoplasm down here. We have carbohydrates, the extracellular space that I talked about, where the phosphate heads, they face the watery cytoplasm as well. And then we have the glycoprotein and glycolipid. So this is very important for every IB student in biology high level to learn, because you have to be able to draw the membrane phospholipid bilayer, and also you have to label it. So I chose this picture because it really points out the most important part of the phospholipid bilayer, and also I thought that this picture was very perfect because it really does show the fluidity and dynamic movement of the membrane phospholipid bilayer. Yep, this was it for the membrane structure. See you guys next time.